The easiest way to win an argument is simply by avoiding it. The second easiest method is by conceding or losing it. The third approach is to diffuse the tension. The fourth involves using logical fallacies or other less ethical tactics. And finally, the hardest approach is to rely solely on strong, sound logic. These are the 5 main ways to approach an argument. I created this list because if you ever search online for tips on winning arguments, most advice focuses only on the last 2 methods. Many of these tips suggest things like mirroring body language or maintaining more eye contact. While these can help, their effectiveness is sometimes questionable. Each method comes with its own challenges. The first 3, however, are simpler. They're easier to remember and don't require much effort. And that's exactly the kind of practical advice you're here for. So, let's start with method number 1, avoiding the argument. As Mark Twain famously said, never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. I like this advice because it encourages you to be willing to give up or walk away from an argument, even when you know you're right. Sometimes, it's simply not worth the frustration to argue with someone who doesn't understand. However, while it's easy to say just walk away, in reality, most arguments don't come with a clear answer about who is actually wrong. Both sides often believe they're right and that the other person is mistaken. Imagine walking into a debate and saying, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, only for your opponent to reply, no, 1 plus 1 is equal to 1. You know you're correct, and they are convinced they're right too. It's important to remember, your opponent might not be stupid. They could simply be misinformed. You could show them the facts by Googling it, but sometimes they might dismiss it as propaganda. Likewise, there's a chance that you might be misled. Walking away from unproductive arguments is solid advice, but if you avoid every disagreement, you risk isolating yourself and missing valuable insights from the world around you. Speaking of valuable insights, let me introduce a new way to browse the internet, Opera Browser. Their latest update, Opera 1R2, is futuristic, fast, and completely free. When you open it, you start with the classic theme, but you can also switch to Aurora, a dark theme, or Midsummer, a light theme. Each theme is fully customizable. Here's a look at mine. For instance, if you want to split your screen to compare 2 pages side by side, it only takes a second. You can simply drag and drop. No need to open a new window. At any time, pressing Ctrl+/ brings up Arya, a fully integrated AI feature. Arya can answer questions, summarize content, and even provide insights about the website you're currently viewing. Arya can also generate and recognize images. One of my favorite features is popping out a YouTube video, so it plays in the corner while I multitask and stay productive. As a bonus, you can also move your music player around the screen, making it easy to listen to music while browsing. Opera now includes tab islands, allowing you to group tabs by context. You can collapse and expand them whenever needed. Another useful feature is tab traces. If you forget which tab you were using most recently, it underlines them, with darker tabs showing your most recent activity. All of this comes completely free. Just check the link in the description to download Opera and explore these features yourself. Now, let's move to the next method, winning an argument by losing it. Think about it. In many cases, the goal of an argument isn't to prove you right. It's to get what you want. For example, imagine you live in a small apartment. Your roommate leaves a cookie jar out each week for both of you to share. One month, they confront you. I put out 20 cookies for us, and you took 17. What's wrong with you? It turns out you only took 16. They miscounted. Either way, you clearly made a mistake. Now your roommate is upset. You don't pay your share of rent, you leave messes, and you ride around the apartment on a Segway. How can you argue your way out of this? Facts and evidence are against you here. Instead, focus on what you actually want from the argument. Do you really need to prove you only took 16 cookies? Is defending yourself worth it? Probably not. Your main goal is to calm your roommate and keep the cookies coming. Focus on the desired outcome, not pride or proving your point. You could say something like, I took 17 cookies. Wow, that's terrible. They were so good, I didn't even notice. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. If you really wanted, you could even offer to buy a separate jar so it doesn't happen again. Of course, you might never actually buy it, but to your roommate, it shows that you made an honest mistake and are willing to go out of your way to make things right. In fact, a well-phrased apology can even make them feel a bit guilty for confronting you. This approach works even in situations where you don't think you did anything wrong. Instead of trying to prove your innocence, you can simply apologize and effectively win the argument by losing. Method number 3, diffuse the argument. This means making the conversation calmer, more respectful, and genuinely trying to understand the other person. By doing this, you'll often see that you and your opponent aren't so different, and you can reach an agreement faster. This idea comes from a historical figure renowned for his debating skills, Socrates. He argued publicly for a living and believed that the goal of a debate should be to learn something new, not to prove your intelligence. He is famously quoted as saying, "I only know one thing, and that is I know nothing." The key point here is that most of the time, the information we have isn't 100% certain. We are often trusting sources blindly. Whether or not the quote is authentic, the lesson from Socrates is clear. Don't misunderstand their argument, and don't let them misunderstand yours. Once you understand their point, avoid flatly telling them they're wrong. Instead, start by finding small points of agreement and gradually build toward larger ones. This is the most effective way to convince someone, step by step. Socrates also had another technique, called Socratic questioning, where you ask a continuous series of questions to expose weaknesses in their argument. In theory, this can be effective if used carefully, but in real life, most people misuse it and overwhelm their opponent with unrelated or excessive questions, which usually just frustrates everyone. These types of questions are designed to confuse the other person. What do you mean? Why am I upset? You took the last cookie from the jar. Why does it bother you if I took the last cookie? I wanted it. Well, didn't I want it too? Yes, but that was your 18th cookie. That's too many. And why do you see that as too many? You only let me have 2. I had 2. You had 18. Would you have preferred if we split the cookies evenly? Yeah, half and half. But isn't it true that not all resources are divided equally? Does your boss pay everyone the same? Or do people earn different salaries based on their job? That's not the same thing. Can you explain why it isn't the same? This is an example of method number 4, which is using unethical tactics. If you're willing to use them, as many people are, Socratic questioning works perfectly. You just keep asking questions, and whenever your opponent gives a reasonable answer, you ignore it and move on to another question. There are countless guides online about winning arguments unethically. Most rely on logical fallacies, bad reasoning, and hope the other person doesn't notice. Others tell you to sit and wait for your opponent to commit a fallacy so you can jump in with, "Did you seriously just use an ad hominem fallacy on me?" After doing this enough, you'll realize your opponent usually doesn't care that you can name every fallacy in Latin. Instead, I like a simpler approach based on an old cartoon by Scott Meyer titled, "How to Win an Argument." Rule 1. Pick your battles. Choose a topic no one feels strongly about or has deeply considered. Make claims so exaggerated that your opponent is too shocked to respond clearly. Instead of proving your own point, make them prove there's beyond any doubt. And when they fail, take it as evidence you were right. Even if you technically lose, convince yourself you won. For advanced techniques, philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote a sarcastic essay explaining how most arguments are actually won. I'll run through these quickly in case any are helpful. Exaggerate your opponent's argument to make it sound extreme. Take what they say and generalize it so it becomes easier to attack. Ask a series of unrelated questions until they contradict themselves. Number 4. Instead of proving something, present it as if it's already true. Number 5. Make your opponent angry or attack their character to throw them off balance. Number 6. Ask questions in a random order, jumping between topics to confuse them. Number 7. Phrase questions so your opponent has to answer no, making them appear negative. Number 8. Use metaphors to make your argument sound stronger than it really is. Number 9. Even if you lose, claim you were right about the points that actually matter. Number 10. Introduce an absurd scenario to make their argument seem ridiculous. Number 11. If your argument is about to fail, change the topic. Number 12. Frequently interrupt so they can't finish their points. Number 13. When they say something, respond with, "So basically you're saying," and twist it into a ridiculous conclusion they never made. Number 14. If you can provide one counterexample, act as if it completely disproves their claim. Number 15. If asked to prove something, ask them to prove it's not true. Number 16. If there's an audience, appeal to their emotions. Talk about their families, pets, paychecks, or things that directly affect them. Number 17. Immediately change the subject when your opponent makes a strong point. Number 18. Make up quotes from experts or authority figures to support your point. Number 19. Avoid a topic by saying, "I'm not an expert." Number 20. Link your opponent's claim to something widely disliked, even if unfair. Number 21. Respond to any point with, "That works in theory, but never in real life." Number 22. If you find a weak spot, keep bringing it up and force them to defend it repeatedly. Number 23. Be confident and act like your argument is strong, even if it's not. Number 24. Use big, complicated words your opponent won't understand. Number 25. If they make a small mistake, act as if their whole conclusion is now wrong. After hearing all these methods, you might wonder, is there a truly logical way to win an argument? The answer is yes, but it's usually boring. If you've written an essay, you know the formula: claim, evidence, reasoning. You make a claim, provide evidence, and then explain why that evidence supports your point. If your reasoning is weak, either find stronger evidence or adjust your claim. Or, like some academics, you could overcomplicate your language, using extremely complex phrases that make your argument almost impossible to understand. This creates a kind of semantic opacity, where the main idea disappears into a confusing wall of words. Ultimately, this leads to intellectual perplexity, where the conversation loses all clarity. Anyway, one subscribe equals one donation to help fund the next video.